In the early 5th century BC, two opposing civilizations were preparing for a fateful confrontation. To the east lay the mighty Persian Empire, led by Cyrus the Great and Darius, which stretched from the Indus Valley to the Aegean Sea. To the west lay the Greek world, a collection of independent city-states, often at odds, but sharing a culture, language, and fierce desire for freedom. While Persia was generally tolerant of its conquered peoples, it imposed tyrannical rulers on the Greek city-states of Ionia. This sowed deep resentment. The spark was the Ionian Revolt, an event whose consequences even the Persians could not have foreseen.
The revolt arose from deep dissatisfaction among the Ionian city-states with taxes, military service, and especially the rule of tyrants imposed by Persia. The direct trigger was Aristagoras, tyrant of Miletus, who after a failed campaign feared punishment from Darius and incited a revolt to save himself. Knowing that the Ionian forces were insufficient, Aristagoras asked Greece for help. Sparta refused due to the distance and danger, but Athens agreed to help. As a young democracy, Athens had blood and cultural ties with Ionia and feared that Persia would bring back the tyrant Hippias. Athens sent 20 warships, along with 5 from its ally Eretria, to the battle. This participation transformed the local revolt into a direct confrontation between Athens and the Persian Empire. With this support, the Ionian army attacked Sardis in 498 BC, burning the city and the temple of the goddess Cybele, an act of grave offense that enraged the
For Darius, it was no longer a matter of quelling a rebellion, but of punishing a foreign power that had challenged his authority. The vow of vengeance against Athens became policy, and the subsequent invasion of Greece was inevitable. On the retreat, the Ionian army was defeated near Ephesus. After the incident at Sardis, Athens and Eretria withdrew, but the revolt spread. The decisive naval battle took place at the island of Lade in 494 BC. Due to internal divisions and the desertion of the Samian fleet, the Ionian coalition was defeated. The Persians then besieged and destroyed Miletus. The men were killed. The women and children were taken as slaves. By 493 BC, the revolt was completely crushed. Although it failed, the Ionian revolt taught the Greeks many lessons. They could win if united, but they could also fail if they lacked a unified leadership. Most importantly, it drew Athens into the center of confrontation with Persia, paving the way for a major war to come. After suppressing the Ionian revolt, King Darius I resolved to punish Athens and Eretria and to extend Persian control over the entire Greek world. The first invasion of mainland Greece consisted of 2 main campaigns. The first was led by Darius' son-in-law, Mardonius. He led a large army through Thrace, re-establishing control and forcing the Macedonian kingdom to submit completely. However, the campaign ended prematurely when the Persian fleet responsible for supplies was destroyed by a storm as it passed Cape Pathos. 2 years later, Darius launched an attack across the Aegean Sea. Under Datis and Artaphernes, the Persian fleet captured the Cycladic Islands, then besieged, captured, and destroyed the city of Eretria. The Persians landed at the Bay of Marathon at the suggestion of Hippias, the former tyrant of Athens, because the terrain there was favorable for cavalry. Upon receiving the news, the Athenians, commanded by 10 generals, including Miltiades, who had experience fighting the Persians, immediately marched to Marathon and blocked the exit from the plain, preventing the Persians from advancing further inland. Athens sent a messenger, Phidippides, to Sparta for help, but the Spartans were busy with the festival and could not march before the full moon. After about 5 days of stalemate, Miltiades convinced his generals to attack immediately. He used a bold tactic: thin out the center and concentrate his forces on the 2 wings. When the battle began, the Greeks charged quickly for the last 200 meters to reduce damage from the Persian archers' arrows. As expected, the weaker Greek center was pushed back by the elite Persians. However, the 2 stronger Greek wings quickly routed the weaker Persian vassal units on either flank. Instead of pursuing, the 2 Greek wings turned in, joining forces to attack the flanks and rear of the Persian center. Surrounded on all sides, the Persians fled in panic to their ships. The Greeks pursued, inflicting heavy losses and capturing 7 ships. The victory at Marathon was of great historical significance. It not only saved Athens from destruction, but also proved that the Greeks, with the right tactics and equipment, could defeat the larger Persian army. This victory cemented the fledgling democracy of Athens and became an enduring symbol of the desire for freedom. The defeat at Marathon did not deter the Persians. Darius began planning a larger invasion, but his death in 486 BC and a revolt in Egypt delayed the campaign. His son, Xerxes, crushed the revolt and resumed preparations, assembling a massive expeditionary force. Facing this existential threat, the Greek city-states set aside their rivalries and formed the Hellenic League. Amid the panic, Athens sent envoys to consult the oracle at Delphi. The first prophecy was grim, foretelling complete destruction. Themistocles argued that the wooden wall referred to Athens' trireme fleet. He persuaded the assembly to invest in naval power, evacuate the city,
and faced the Persians at sea. The Greek alliance aimed to stop the Persians at key choke points. Infantry forces would block the narrow pass at Thermopylae. There, about 7,000 Greeks, led by King Leonidas of Sparta and his 300 elite soldiers, held off the vast Persian army for 3 days. Persian tactics relied heavily on cavalry and archers. Battles began with a deadly barrage of arrows meant to weaken and disrupt enemy ranks before the infantry advanced. The Persian army's core included Persian and Median troops with the elite immortals, 10,000 heavily armed infantry who served as the king's guard and main assault force. On the third day at Thermopylae, a Greek named Ephialtes betrayed the defenders by revealing a mountain path to outflank them. Knowing they were surrounded, Leonidas ordered most of the allies to retreat. He, 300 Spartans, 700 Thespians, and 400 Thebans stayed behind, fighting to the death in a legendary act of heroism and patriotism. At the same time, the allied fleet fought the Persians at Artemisium. Though outnumbered, they used superior tactics and seamanship to hold them off. After learning of Thermopylae's fall, the fleet withdrew in good order to the Straits of Salamis. After breaking through Thermopylae, the Persians advanced into central Greece. Athens was evacuated, then captured and burned by Xerxes. The allied fleet regrouped at Salamis, but internal divisions arose. Peloponnesian leaders wanted to fall back to defend the Isthmus of Corinth. Themistocles, seeing that victory was only possible at sea, devised a bold plan. He sent a trusted servant, Sisinus, to Xerxes, pretending to be a secret informant. Sisinus falsely claimed that the Greek fleet was in panic and planning to flee. Xerxes, eager for a final blow, ordered his fleet to enter and seal off the straits. The trap worked. As the massive Persian fleet entered the narrow waters, it became confused and disorganized. Their large ships struggled to maneuver and crashed into one another. The smaller, more agile Greek fleet struck with force. Athenian triremes proved superior, sinking or capturing hundreds of Persian ships. The Battle of Salamis was a crushing defeat for Xerxes. With much of his fleet lost, he could no longer support his army by sea. Fearing entrapment in Europe, Xerxes withdrew most of his army to Asia, leaving General Mardonius behind with a smaller force to continue the conquest. In spring 479 BC, the final showdown began. Mardonius tried to divide the Greeks with generous peace offers to Athens, but they firmly refused. A massive Greek coalition army, the largest yet, marched north from the Peloponnese to face Mardonius in Boeotia. The two armies faced off near Plataea for 11 days. Due to supply issues and minor clashes, the Greeks chose to reposition to more favorable ground. Mardonius, mistakenly thinking they were retreating, ordered a full-scale pursuit, a fatal error. The Greeks, led by the phalanxes of Sparta, Plataea, and Athens, turned and engaged. In the decisive battle, the heavily armed Greek hoplites once again outmatched the lighter Persian infantry. Mardonius was killed, and his army was routed. A large part of the Persian army was trapped in their camp and massacred. According to Herodotus, on the same day as Plataea, the allied Greek fleet under Spartan king Leochides destroyed the remaining Persian navy at Cape Mycale on the Ionian coast. The twin victories at Plataea and Mycale ended the Persian invasion threat. They secured Greek independence and marked a shift from defense to counterattack as the Greeks began liberating Ionian cities and driving Persia from the Aegean. Greek success was not just due to bravery, but to smart strategy, skilled use of terrain, and exploiting the weaknesses of the massive yet unwieldy Persian forces. On land, the key battles centered on Greek hoplites facing various Persian infantry. Hoplite gear was standardized for close formation fighting in the phalanx. Greek hoplites wore bronze helmets, bronze or linen breastplates, linothorax, and greaves. Their full armor panoply could weigh 20 to 30 kilograms. In contrast, Persian infantry were more lightly equipped with wicker and leather sparra shields, shorter spears, bows, and akinakis, short swords or daggers. Their scale or quilted armor offered less protection. The nature of phalanx combat is debated. The Orthodox view sees battles as ritual clashes between dense formations, with both sides pushing in a massive othismus. Rear ranks added pressure to break enemy lines. The revisionist view argues that hoplite warfare was more fluid, involving multiple phases: spear thrusts, sword fighting, and individual skirmishes. At sea, Athens was the key naval power. Both sides relied on triremes, fast, narrow warships with 3 tiers of oars per side, offering exceptional speed and maneuverability. The
Athenian sailors were free, paid citizens with high skill and experience, making them more motivated than the diverse, often conscripted crews of the Persian fleet. The Greeks developed advanced naval tactics, such as the diakplois, rowing between enemy ships to turn and strike their flanks or rears, and the paraplois, circling around to attack from the sides or rear. The Persian army was a vast multi-ethnic force, drawing troops from across the empire, each with different weapons and fighting styles. Sustaining such a large army on a distant campaign posed immense logistical challenges. The Persians relied heavily on their navy to transport supplies, making their fleet a vital lifeline. After the Persian fleets defeated Salamis, Xerxes could no longer supply his land army, forcing him to withdraw most of his forces. The Greek Hoplite phalanx was designed for decisive infantry battles on flat terrain. When the Greeks could dictate these conditions, as at Marathon and Plataea, they prevailed. When they couldn't, as at the outset of Thermopylae, they relied on terrain to hold out. This highlights a key truth. No military system is inherently superior. Its success depends entirely on the strategic and tactical context.
Victory over Persia ushered in a new era for Athens, launching its rise to unmatched power during the golden age of Pericles. After Plataea and Mycale, Athens formed the Delian League to continue the war against Persia. Its headquarters and treasury were initially on the sacred island of Delos. Over time, Athens used its naval dominance to turn the alliance into an instrument of empire. In 454 BC, the treasury was moved to Athens, a symbolic act of total control. For the Achaemenid Empire, failure in Greece ended hopes of European expansion. Instead, they shifted to a strategy of divide and rule, using Persian gold to manipulate rivalries among Greek city-states. Athens' rapid rise, fueled by Delian League tribute, disrupted the Greek balance of power, provoking fear and resentment in Sparta and its allies.
The Second Great War among the Greek city-states was a direct outcome of the first. Athens' victory over Persia gave it the confidence and resources to build an empire that made war with Sparta inevitable. This conflict shaped a lasting tripartite dynamic: Athens, Sparta, and Persia, with Persia often playing the role of distant manipulator. Its true legacy lay not in shifting borders, but in the political and ideological foundations it established, ones that would define the Mediterranean world for the next century. The Greco-Persian Wars were more than battles of armies. They were clashes of will, vision, and the deep yearning for freedom. They wrote a chapter that still echoes through history. Their lessons endure: the strength of unity, the peril of arrogance, and the enduring power of liberty. This story is not just history, it is part of who we are.